Calling all consumer goods business owners and marketing professionals. Does planning content ahead of time stress you out? Do you want to run Instagram and Facebook ads but just aren't sure where to start? If your answer is yes and yes, then our mini course was made for you. It's 100% free and packed with essential tactics that you can implement as soon as today. To join in, visit our website at umaimarketing.com/mini-course. All right, let's get on with the pod.
Welcome to the Umai Social Circle, where we talk consumer goods tips to help business owners and marketers grow. We're Karen and Allison, co-founders of Umai Marketing, and we're being joined by Joi Chevalier, founder and CEO of the Nook, a truly mission-driven food and tech culinary incubator cultivating community here in Austin, Texas. The Nook provides commercial kitchen space to its members, as well as business and entrepreneurship development consulting. Thank you so much for joining us, Joi.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it and like being with you guys.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's dive a little bit into your background. So you have an extensive background in product management and strategy in big tech. So Can you tell us how the Nook even came to be?
Well, sure. And I make light of it. I was working on my PhD in literature and technology and talking about this thing called a product manager, and where we turning our instructors, teachers into product managers in early days of sort of developing online pedagogies and tools and systems and network-based classrooms. And I was building an entire classroom to teach British literature, 16th century, 17th century British literature, in fact, in networked classrooms. And I was actually building asynchronous chat systems tied to them and all kinds of things. And companies saw all the stuff I was working on and writing and doing talks and papers on. You can still find them all online, probably in the Internet Wayback Archive somewhere. And I ended up working for technology companies and director of marketing and products and eventually, after startups here in town and acquisitions on some products, my focus was really around community personalization and customization of technology and data and platforms and experiences. I wound up at a very large Fortune 50 here in the area in Round Rock, and basically eventually owned all of their authentication systems as the senior product manager and strategist global, and got to be the in-house product management. I've always believed, since you have a number on your back, is the owner for a strategy and a revenue. It is the inbound marketing owner. It is the one who determines what needs to be in the market, how to get to market, what is the product market fit, the customer market fit, what is the thing that is supposed to make money, what is the thing that is supposed to drive the business. I mean, the idea of getting a product to market means you have to have a process and a means and a vision on how to get products to market and what is the product. And you have a clear notion of your relationship to a customer, right? There is nothing but them. And then the rest is, how do you organize the business and how do you speak clearly to a development and operations process in a form of a series of requirements that are clear, unequivocal, and represent a set of features that speak to a persona or personas that have real utility to them in the market, that will help them solve a problem and get something done, and give development a real set of criteria that are acceptable. And the cost of those things, but the cost of those things, if they're done well, will be far less than the revenue that you can make with that audience, right? At the end of the day. And you have a pretty high confidence that you can do that, right? In that feature set. And I just define product management, right? And to get that product to a launch effectively, right? Knowing what that market needs and expects, and to go out and talk to a whole bunch of folks and a whole bunch of analysts, and get my product marketing teams and then eventually PR teams and others to do the work, to speak to those folks, doing their outbound work to get that out there. And you get good at doing this process over and over and over and over and over again. And so, after doing it so much, and you start to get to a point where it's all you think about and it's what you know how to do. And that's great. And it does lead to success. And it does lead to, I had a very successful career doing that. But after a while, that can be put to good utility in other places and for other benefit. And for me, that other benefit was, how do I see other people being successful in this way, right? Can I show this to someone else? Can we find, are there women? Are there Black and brown entrepreneurs who need to know this? I see so many products and people trying to make products. And to me, it is, by that time, is now natural, right? It was learned, right? But it now comes naturally. And so I decided to go to culinary school at night while I was running those kinds of things. I would run a program, run stuff during the day. And then about 4:00, I would jump in the car, come back down I-35, put my little commie hat on, put my little jacket on, and run into school. And here at Escoffier, right across from Highland Mall, jump out. Nobody noticed I wore chef pants during the day. Black is black. Black is black. They didn't notice. And would do that from 5 to midnight. I would just show up at work with a lot of food during the day. Would you like some brioche? They were like, what are you doing? Brioche?
Made it last night.
Made it last night. Exactly. Most of my team knew. Got focaccia. And it was funny. They started coming around to my desk. What did you make? And that was rice last night. You don't want that. And they knew because, it wasn't a secret. I had a great circle. I had great vice presidents, and I had great others, Joi's always doing something. And so, because she could do products all day long, she'd been doing them for a long time. And so it just happened to be that, one year in 2014, Dell stuck something out. It said, put your name on this list for a voluntary separation. What the hell is that? It was like a lottery. It was like Secret Santa or something. You got to pay to play and stick your name on it and find out what it's about. You're like, okay, what the hell? Oh, well, a lot of people put their names on it. Let's just be honest. There was a lot of names, and my name was on it. And it's funny, my vice president, actually the CTO of the company, saw my name on the list and said, your name can't be on this list. I went, what's the list? We don't even know.
I just want to find out what happens.
I want to find out what it is.
You're like, I want to win.
I want to win. I know exactly. Is it scratch off? What is this? Seriously. I had an idea, but what is it?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, your name needs to come off the list. I was like, okay, well, make me an offer. I'll take my name off the list.
Does that basically mean they overhired, or were having a year that they didn't expect? And that's how.
No, that typically means they're trying to get rid of an entire sort of band of folks.
Program. Oh, okay.
It's a band of folks. They were looking to get rid of everybody between 7 and 15 years. They were just trying to cut dollars.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Corporate world. We're not a part of it.
That's just corporate. Yeah. And that's exactly what they did. They got rid of directors, all of us who were at director level.
Wow.
Yeah. There were.
Well, it gave you the opportunity to come do a passion project that's turned into a career.
I saw it as an opportunity. And that's why I was okay with my name being on the list. I wasn't crazy. I knew, come on, I was corporate. I knew
I've been here.
Yeah, I knew I was putting my name in a hopper, right?
So, okay, that happened. And then the Cook's Nook, was that always in the back of your mind, or did it take you a while?
It was actually my project while I was in culinary school.
Okay.
So when that happened, if I was going to go, I was okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
If I was going to stay, I was okay with it. That's why I suggested for them to make me an offer. You had to make me an offer to stay.
Love it.
And they did, actually. They made me an offer to stay. It was a good offer too, actually, but I ended up leaving. And so it gave me the opportunity to execute upon the project that I product managed, which was this thing I had written out while I was in culinary school, had drawn the pictures for, had done the SWOT analysis and the feature list and written up the requirements for, right? I did exactly the same work. I had gone around town, done the zip code work, done the demographic work, and done the same exact work I would have done for any new product, right? Determined that there was a gap in the market that was not here, which was, how do we have a space and a place that spoke directly to entrepreneurs, that gave a centralized place to rally around to talk about entrepreneur issues and functions, was a turnkey solution for entrepreneurs to come in, to use the space, have a co-working space, a small event space, the production facility space, and the business services around them to try to help them launch their products and at least get first initial traction into the market. That was the definition, right? And then it had a set of requirements, right? What needed to be there. Sound like a product?
Sounds like a product.
I love how you somehow simplified it. I mean, it seems, like this, like abstract idea, but the way I guess your brain works is you're able to simplify it and make it something that makes sense and is consumable, really.
Yeah, so, that was it.
Yeah.
And it needed to have these features. And I wrote out all the features and I Moscowed the features just like you do. Must have, could have, right? Should have, would have. I gave each feature an approximate cost, high level of I started to prioritize them, and an approximate cost for those features, right? And then I had to go to a development team, aka a general contractor and an architect to tell me how much it would cost to get those features, right?
And you're solo besides your devs? Is this just you? Awesome.
It was.
Wow.
Yeah, me and my devs. And I went and got a marketing team, aka Flywheel Creative. Right? I went and got Karen Berry and her company. Yeah, that was pretty much it, right?
I think the one thing that's really sticking with me as you're talking about the product management and how it has translated into the Cook's Nook is the huge importance of processes. And once you have them down, they can be repeatable and they can be successful. So how important is it for CPG business owners to have these established processes in place before they really start doing the work?
They can be, but they don't have to be. But once you realize that you have a process, you should commit to it, write it down, and know when you do it again that you have to edit it, which means you had to write it down and put it someplace so you can come back to it and say, and here's how I just changed it. Was it better? Or did I make it worse? And if you're not willing to commit to the meta work of process management or process change, then you've captured nothing about what you've done. You've captured absolutely nothing. You can't even examine what you've done. You can't even learn from what you've done. You can't take any benefit from what you've done. And so you're learning it every time you step in it. And that's slow. It's slow and costly, let alone take benefit of looking over and seeing what somebody else has done. You're not even looking at what you've done. And that's what I can't get. Some people get that, and it just pains me because you can hear it in my voice when I can't get that across to somebody, to look at what you've done for yourself. And I get that it's overwhelming for some people sometimes. And maybe that's just, I've got to find a way to not make it so overwhelming. The idea is to get that under control over time, but it's still not pretty at first. It is not. It is not. Your days are long and heinous until that process improvement starts to kick in and you start to realize the benefit of it because you're not stepping in it as much. But you've got to commit to writing down when you do learn things so that it benefits you later so that you get control of your time, your SOPs, your processes to benefit you later, right? So you can you're going to invest the time up front so you get it back in droves later. And you can share it with others because you're going to have to give it away. You will not just be you by yourself, hopefully soon enough.
Right. I feel like that's a good lesson all in itself. I mean, you have to get your process that may be so apparent to you and the explanation about your product that's so apparent to you. I mean, we see it a lot in the marketing world where you're not communicating it properly to your team or your consumers, really. But thank you for that. And
I will tell you, that's the reason why I was struggling today, is because I was doing that transition with someone, and sometimes things were not written. And so it was somebody transitioning for another role, and not somebody else in my company was transitioning. And because it wasn't written, I was having to go back and do that for somebody else.
Right. Yeah. Systems should be in place with any business. I mean, it's not just, a tech thing or what have you. It really is important for every business. So I love how you explain that. And I can't wait to learn more about how you think about entrepreneurs, as how entrepreneurs should think of themselves as product. Really, you talked about that earlier, but I really want some more background first on big tech to food. So I'm assuming you have a passion for food. Where, if that's correct, where does that come from? What does food mean to you?
Great question. So I spent a lot of time, and I'll say it's in my own family. I mean, I spent the week of Juneteenth, I did 3 food demos. It's so funny because we'll talk about this, and CPG and food and tech don't actually ever see me actually do foodways work. And foodways folks who I do lots of talks with don't ever see me do this stuff. It's really funny how these are really completely split. But yeah, I do a lot of talking on foodways and African American foodways and food history. And one day I'll write a cookbook. We'll actually get there.
Cookbook
on coastal Texas cuisine. I'll get there. But my family's from, Houston, East Texas, and Southwest Louisiana. And, my family was one of the first early families in Old French Town in Houston, which is in Cashmere Gardens, 5th Ward, and Sittagast, and started a couple of the Black Catholic churches in the area. And that's just a tradition I grew up in, fish fries and Zydeco, and, bazaars, and, went to Catholic school all of my life till I came to UT. And so, grew up around food and cooking food and making food, and especially the food on special occasions, and just the real food made, I don't say real food, but just that very earthy food, in particular out of East Texas, that was very vegetable forward, food of my grandmother and her family, and still the food that I work a lot with and celebrate. And I still cook. I cook a lot. Friends, I'm notorious for food, and my friends love coming to eat when I cook. And so the idea that, when I was sort of sitting there days wondering, Adele, what my next act was going to look like, it was, wow, I could be at another technology company, but I don't think that's what it is. I think, what is that thing? And I think it's in food. And God, it is not a food corporate. Geez, can you imagine me at a brand company? I think I would look at those folks even crazier than I was looking at tech corporate, right? And I have a tendency to look at my own uplines like, really? It's a terrible habit of mine. And like I said, I was notorious for that too. They're like, you can't even hide your face in a corporate meeting. No, I can't.
Zoom camera off now.
Yeah, I've done that. I wish. And if people just go, you got something to say, boy? Oh, no, keep going. But again, I think it just ended up being food it was in food. And then what is that? And before Dell, I had been at startups. I mean, I was in startups more than I was at Dell. Going to a Fortune 50 was, I mean, to this day, my friends who I was in startups with for the longest time here in the Austin area, they still laugh. And we're like, because they were like, really? When I said I was going to go to Dell, they were like, really? And they still crack up at that. You know, that was a shocker for me to go someplace so big. And they all stayed in startups, very successfully so, but that's all they ever did. And that's what my crowd always did. And so it was going back to something small. And if it was entrepreneurs, food entrepreneurs, all right, then. So what does that look like? And who is that? And does that make sense? And what are they missing?
Mm.
And then that's how I sort of got into that product process. What is this?
Mm-hmm.
And let me go figure out what that is and what that looks like. Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, it's afforded me a platform to be able to talk about these issues in food and tech, label it in food and tech. I mean, we were some of the first to talk about that 5-6 years ago. When I first started talking about it, this food and tech, what is it? It's not big ag, right? It's not corporate food. It is this marriage of food and entrepreneurs. And I'll yank that back all the time when I'm in corporate food conversations or national calls, because big ag tried to yank it. Nope, not y'all. This is entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Food and tech is about entrepreneurs. It's about new food and it's about innovative food. It's not brand food. Stop. And it's not big ag. Well, big ag is a source of new technology. Understand what you're saying about technology, and a lot of new tech is coming out of ag. But when we say food plus tech with the little plus, food plus tech, we're talking entrepreneurs, kids.
Mm-hmm.
And in specific, one of those categories in that is CPG. Let's be clear, right? But they did try to yank that. And so what is food and tech? Food and tech is this ability to try to take what we've learned in technology about these iterative processes, getting to launches quickly and getting through iterations quickly and bringing that into a culinary space to the benefit of entrepreneurs, the food entrepreneurs, and teaching them these same methods and methods of thinking in order to get them there fastest, because they need to get there fastest. It's not restaurant work, right? It's something else, right? You know, if someone, and even at the Cook's Nook, we have a minimum of, you know, a lot of times people, when they go into a space, they have a year's lease, right? Our minimum has been 4 months. Why? Because the idea is that you should be able to get into a process quickly enough, fast enough, get launched and get some early traction. And if we're good, it should take you 4 months.
Wow. You're able to, are you saying on average, generally, I know a lease is usually a year, but because of that year lease, does it take others on average a year to get up and running, and you're able to cut that down to 4 months?
No, what we're saying is we ask them for a minimum of 4 months, right? And then folks can just go month to month after that.
Mm.
Right?
Do a lot of them get there that quickly?
Many of them do.
Nice.
To get something, at least something out into the market and get themselves and trying to get others to talk about it. Yeah, and some people don't, but most of them do. I'd say more than 50%, 60%. They get something in there and out the door that they're comfortable with and start to try to talk about it, try to get a sales process going, you know, get into a store, you know, get into some early events, try to co-brand, you know, a little thing with someone else, do pop-ups, you know, whatever the events might be, they start to do some things. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so interesting, because honestly, so many CPG founders they have full-time jobs, you know, they're doing what you did after their corporate job, 5 to midnight or later, grinding for this mission-based product that they believe in. And that's who we honestly love to work with as well, because when they have a product they believe in, they work hard.
They work hard. The question is, do they know the right things to work on?
Mm-hmm.
And say no to not work on the stuff that's easy, that comes easiest to them. Even I had to, right? It was, hey, let's go build a website. Joi, yes, of course, Joi wants to go build a website and make some brochures. No, Joi, you're not going to go build the website and make some brochures, right? Right? What are you going to go do, Joi? Right? You're going to go do the horrible, hard thing, right? You're going to go sit and, well, not horrible, hard. It's just the one you don't enjoy. Go Moscow this stuff Go and stand down there in the development office and try to get this building done that you don't know how to get done, that you can't get these people to move on, right? And go do the horrible parts, right? Or what is your process for getting entrepreneurs in here, right? Go figure out how you're going to go find and meet entrepreneurs and tell them about this place. It's easy for me to sit in the background because I do products. And, the day I sort of woke up and said, I need to go find somebody else to build me a website and an e-commerce process, that was a revelation for me. I had to give it away. That's not mine anymore. It's not me. Wow.
It's hard. That's hard as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that. Okay, then what do I do? Well, but I'd save money if I did it. Oh, but God, it would take me weeks, right?
And somebody can do it better.
Mm-hmm. And they'll do a way better job than I would. Way better job. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Leaning into doing the hard stuff, even if it's not the things you want to do. I think that's a good lesson for anybody who's wanting to build something with their own two hands.
Yeah. Joi, go stare at your spreadsheet and figure out where your holes are and make equations in an Excel table in spreadsheet. I could do high level, sure, but having to really dig into Excel, that was painful. I hear that. I can always get that back from the finance group, right? I had somebody else to do it for me if I really had to, right? Nope, not anymore. God, I hate that. I had to have a come to Jesus about it literally in the middle of the night. There is nobody else coming for you, Joi. There's nobody. And you have to know these numbers. You have to make at least an attempt to figure out how to make these sums, because if you don't know this math, you are going to screw yourself and your husband, and it's your money. It's not Michael's money. It's your money, and it's your retirement money. And there's no more money coming because you're not making six figures anymore. So suck it up and figure it out.
Yeah, right? Gotta grind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a leap of faith. Mm-hmm. It's really cool to hear.
Yeah. Can you do this or not? Are you good enough to do this or not? You have done this and you know how to do this. Can you do this or not? Then shut up and do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were in this process of the shut up and do it, mm-hmm. how much did you have to lean on your community to support you?
That's an interesting question. So this is one of the areas I will say, do as I say, not as I do. Because I'm unusual in this regard, because I did do this professionally for a long time, right? It was my job to build the spreadsheets, build a business case, build plans, demonstrate this to somebody else, get the funding, and do this work, right? So I could sit at my desk and build this because I've been doing it for 20 years. As an entrepreneur, I think you will find it very difficult. People, I'll be honest, I don't think people understand entrepreneurs. I think sing and think, wow, entrepreneur is great, but I don't think people really understand it. I think it's a mindset that people don't get because it's a level of risk and faith and leaping and risk that most people will never, ever, ever consider. Not do, just not even think about it. Mm-hmm. There's something wrong with you at the end of the day underneath it. There's something not right.
You're putting yourself in just a huge non-safe place.
Yeah, it's the ultimate non-safe thing. And you made some other people non-safe around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I'm serious. There's something safe.
That's absolutely right.
There's a true vulnerability. Uh-huh. Absolutely.
There's some exposed thing about you that people go, oh, you can feel it. There's a slight thing. Okay. Wow, that's amazing. I just look at them, right? And so I think it's really hard for entrepreneurs to find a community of non-entrepreneurs, family, friends, and others who will commit to them in their endeavors. I think that's tough. And if we keep knocking on that door, I think it's really hurtful because they're not going to be that vulnerable and exposed with you in that way. I think that is a very tiny universe that will. Spouse, partner, maybe, and maybe to an extent, right? They're going to commit the dollars or the relationship or be there, but not be with you in it all the time, every day, right? But they're in it with you because they want you to be successful. They're going to commit their home, their household, their dollars, but they're not going to be standing next to you, right? In the business doing what you do every day.
They're just not going to fully get it,
They're not totally good. They're not totally get it, but they're down.
I like what you said. It's like kind of not fair to pull them into our crazy world sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. My husband's down. He's been down. He knows it's his money. This is his household. It's his business, X, Y, and Z. Call him for anything. He's down, but I'm not asking him to be right here every day.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't understand what's happening here all the time. And I don't ask him to, right? He's got a corporate job, right? And so there's always a little bit of distance about this topic, and that's okay. That's okay. And I think we need to understand that and be okay with that. So where do we find that community, you were asked? I think that's why it's important to find other entrepreneurs. I think you're going to have to. So here's what I eventually did. A 20-year seasoned product manager, I went and registered in Tech Ranch's Venture Fourth class. Can you believe that? And Kevin Cohen looked at me like, well, don't mind me. I'm going to sit right here in this class. It wasn't a negative to hear all this stuff again, right? But it was to go and meet people. And I'm an introvert anyway. And to look at people and listen and see what's being done and be okay with my own vulnerability in this. And you'll do a pitch at the end. No, I'm not. Yes, you will. I don't need to do a pitch. I'm not looking for money. I don't need to pitch anything. Right?
I'm just here to meet people.
I'm just here to see people. Oh, I don't need to do that exercise. But I did. And then they brought the mentors in and I talked about my company and it got better each time I talked about it. And I went, oh, I'm getting better at this. And my pitch got better and my definition got better and my 4 Ps got better, right? And even my requirements got better. And then my pitch got better. And then I did do the pitch on the last pitch night, right? And I did have an ask where I didn't used to have an ask. Okay, I get it. An entrepreneur has to have social capital because you can't build your product in a vacuum. And that
is a great statement. I just have to point that out.
That became the defining definition of the Cook's Nook. None of us build a product in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
I could in a corporate, but you can't out here.
We don't have Michael's money out here.
We don't have free money out here. That's exactly right. And even in there, you weren't supposed to either. That's an artificial thing where we can't go out and talk to every customer and jet on jets everywhere and go do what we need to go do. And that became a defining statement in the Cook's Nook. And we still say that you can't build a company in a vacuum. We are the first line at the Cook's Nook for you to meet other entrepreneurs and start to get into places and events and activities so you can meet others who help make you and your company better and your product better, right?
I love the tie-in to community, and that kind of leads me to the next question we wanted to ask is, previously you were talking a lot about how tech should influence the CPG world, the changes that the CPG world needs to do based on what tech is doing. But what can the tech world learn from CPG?
Oh my gosh. Remember that bit I just said about not making products in a vacuum?
That's what I was hoping you would tie in here.
Oh my God. So one of the things that we still do in our corporate section, if you see on the side, is we still engage with corporates in a lot of arenas. And some of that is still on product innovation. And if I could tell you what some corporates are doing, you would just I mean, there's a reason why that some of them just are not growing in food spaces. They're just not. And why they are desperate to do acquisitions, because they don't know how to grow new products. They don't have a process from within to grow entrepreneurs. They are driven by R&D because we made some stuff and we should do something with it, or better yet, file it. And a brand group that says, we don't have anything in the CBD gummy sector. Did y'all make something and put it on file? That's what happens. Well, this is going to be a $300 million space. We don't have anything in it. Let's make up something. And then they go build an A/B test a package, not a product, a package. And then they dump $30 million in the hopes that they're going to make a $300 million product. And then it doesn't work. And then they look confused. And it takes them 2 or 3 years to do it because it comes out over here in R&D and they have to test the heck out of it. They can't make any claims about it. They have protocols about it. It takes these guys 2 years. These guys are testing a package on Facebook, seriously, on Facebook, and do some intercepts. And then they get somebody in China who's going to do a scaling operations. And that is how products come together. That does not work.
So what's the first thing you would say to someone who took that route?
First thing I said was, that's not going to work.
What's the second thing?
So the second thing was, who's actually making a product? Who owns product management? Who's making a product? And who actually asked anybody, did they want a product, and what's the product they want, and what's the product they want to eat? And they didn't have an answer for that. Those roles did not exist. They have brand marketers, and then they have R&D. So who owns product? Mm-hmm. Who has a target on their back with a number? Maybe brand marketing. Yeah, but who owns the thing that somebody has to consume and ingest, right? And so we actually worked with a company to actually build a rather detailed product innovation process to try to get them there. Extremely detailed with deliverables at every step. Here's the documents, the deliverables that should come out of that. And here's a map of the process. And then during the process, here are the deliverables at each of these points. Yeah. And then here are the roles that are still missing for you. I mean, they were about ready to start having an entrepreneur process. And out the gate at the A/B testing of a package, they were going to give them $250,000. I went, but they didn't show anything. They didn't have any deliverables. Well, they A/B tested a package. That gets you $250,000? Shoot, I need to come over here. And then, you got something else, you do something else and you got another 500,000. And they were trying to create a portfolio that was somehow going to return them in 3 years, $300 million portfolio. I was like, I've lived that, right? And so, what are the things, I come back to your point, what can they learn is, what does it take to really do innovation inside a corporate environment, right? What does that really look like, right? How do you carve that out? What are the roles? What are the time frames and targets, right, of expectation? We talked about what do those months look like for us, and what does that time look like? What does that time look like for them? What does it mean not to be in a vacuum, right? What does that mean, giving the leeway and the ability to actually allow people to go back out into the field, right? What are the real dollars around that? What are real expectations around products, right? And what does that start to look like, and put that back in, right? What are real processes to get to the shelf that are reasonable? It's reasonable for those kinds of companies to believe they can get a good, solid product to the shelf in 6 to 8 months. If you told that to a large brand company, they would laugh at you. They would laugh. They don't know how to do that anymore. They don't know how to do that. But I bet you guys do. You guys know how to do that. They can't. Okay, a year, they would still laugh. But you guys know how to do that. And on less than $250,000.
benefits of being small and nimble.
How do you be small and nimble and really mean it and let them pull out a quality product with processes?
Can't forget the processes.
With processes that they can see, because they're going to want them, and that's understandable, right? They don't want people to be sick. Totally get it. Nobody wants people to be sick, right? Nobody, entrepreneurs don't either, right? That are traceable, that still have SKUs and UPCs and has some distribution and affect an audience, right? You could still do that. They would know how to do that, but you guys will. And that's the thing I think we can give back to them. And they don't have to buy it. They can learn it. They don't have to buy it and mess up another company or just leave it alone in isolation, but have it become part of their culture. Right. And that's what they still haven't figured out how to do. Yeah.
So interesting.
Right. That was a bit long.
No,
I love it.
So I just love that, speaking from someone who has 20 years of experience, knows that the food CPG in specific can give, show tech something, give them a little run for their money,
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Good to hear.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if it could be food corporate or it could be just pure tech. I mean, if I walked into certain Fortune 50s today and said I was going to do that, you couldn't do that. And I was notorious for getting large products done on no money, right? The year I made, 10 billion, I probably spent 2 million. In 1 year, I was supposed to make 2 billion. And I asked for 3 million, though companies were around that were valued at 30 million who were doing the same work. And I think I got 750,000. I mean, it's crazy. You get nothing and expect to make big dollars, right?
Yeah.
Not so. But you don't get the opportunity to be innovative and you can't get quickly to market. And those things may or may not be persistent product use.
It
ended up being throwaway.
Right. Like that's something that we tell the small, extra small, even medium size CPG companies is that you have the ability to pivot where these big brands can't. It's going to take them a long time if they need to. And that is what can set you apart and set, make you successful, is you can pivot and you can listen to your audience and quickly change your offering or your communication, your messaging. And
you absolutely can. And, but that means you have to already be thinking about it. And it's okay to think about it.
Or just listening, really.
Yeah. Or just listening, or spending the time. What's next and what else could we be doing, and putting it in your back pocket. It's not a betrayal of your current audiences and your current work to always think about what else can I be doing and how can we be doing it better, or what's next for us. You got to have it on the side. And exactly, last year showed that. And that's exactly those who in our space survived. That's exactly what they did.
Right.
Because they already had a sense of what they could be doing, or thoughts that they had in the past that they had set aside, that they came back to, or whatever it was.
Yeah. And speaking of innovations, are there some innovations that you can think of right now that you're seeing in the CPG space that are exciting?
Innovations in a space that are exciting. I think delivery, and I don't mean delivery mechanisms, but how things get to audiences, in that I like that somehow we've been forced to say we really need to meet people where they are. So we need to find ways to get food to where people are. If that is using really finding solutions around vending mechanisms, then folks are going to do that. And I am thinking, I guess it's not that far away. You've seen people try, people with lockers, but I'm thinking about getting beyond lockers. If you're going to have Remember, I come from a place where it is all about individualized, customized, personalized experiences. So how do I have a vending system that is ultimately customized, but it is your food customization? So in that, here's the example. Let me be very specific. You remember Alpaca Market?
I don't.
Okay. So there has been cold food vending systems or prepared meal vending systems that have been in markets and stores and places for a while, but they've not gone over horribly well because it can be high touch to supply to them. And if the prepared food does not sell very quickly, then you've got a lot of turnover in those spaces. So they can be high cost to do that. But how do you have fresh food, fresh salads, fresh smoothies, or things like that in some sort of cold vending mechanism? Even more so, how do you have something like prepared meals in them? Even more so, how do you have groups of prepared meals in them, especially if you're doing food insecure places? And so finding ways to solve those kinds of challenges and issues, I think, is the next great thing that still has to get solved, because I've got to not only have it be able to be indoor, outdoor, I've got to be able to have it locked, but I got to have it know you. I come back to this authentication question and how much it knows, not just the storage of it, right? But I've got to be able to manage it remotely. And it's easier for it to know you than for me to have to check it. If that makes sense.
That makes total sense. It's hard to think on how that's possible now, since we're kind of leaning into this more era of privacy, I guess, is the way I would put it.
Well, this is the ultimate in privacy, right? It's easier for the system to know you than for me to have to check on it. I only want to check to make sure that it's gone. I don't want to have to handle or manage it knowing you. And so whether that's fingering, knowing this is the Smith family or somebody from the Smith family who's coming to get all of their food out of one of the slots and all of the meals, it could be anybody from the Smith family, I don't care, to come by and pick all the meals up. And it's only the things out of that one slot, not opening the whole thing. It's by slot. So I can put 15 meals for the Smiths in there, 6 meals for the Samelsons in here, whatever that is, that can control that level of individual personalization and customization.
I see. Okay.
But manage the system. Right.
I feel like we need to put this in a time capsule, come back to it in 5 years and be like, wait.
I'm waiting for somebody to come and talk to me, the product manager.
Ooh, I look forward to this. It sounds so spacey right now, but
it's not that spacey. I mean, if you can have an individual small robotic vehicle drive up to your address with your hot pizzas inside,
right,
that costs way more and has way more technology in it than a standing multi-door locker that has individual coding on each of those.
And how is
recognition?
In face recognition, how are you thinking the food is produced? Is there?
Yes, somebody would have to produce that. But
okay, okay. I wasn't
those items in there. That's fine. That's actually pretty standard transport. It is about it's about the mechanism itself and making that viable and affordable. And having to
partner with Amazon
because and I'm sure Amazon already has. I used to talk to them. I need them to call me back. The real issue is, but that one slot, the Smiths don't use it anymore. Now it belongs to the Chevaliers. I don't need anybody ever to touch it. I just need that to be reprogrammed. And then tomorrow it's the Smiths again.
Pretty neat.
Food and tech.
That is pure food and tech. And I want that. I want to make that. I want to be the product manager who does that. I need somebody to call me.
Call her.
Call Joi, please.
We're going to have your information in the show notes. If anybody hears this.
I need to own that. I want the IP for that.
Yep.
Yeah, you heard it here. I mean, set in stone.
That to me is huge. And then the other part is I still think we haven't gotten there yet in CPG. I think CPG can get there, but I'm still not sure how. I don't think it'll take a huge investment. I think it's just a commitment in the teams. And that really is the move to food is medicine. And that I don't think we have I'm not sure we have the right tech for that yet. It's not it's not something like a food lab determining the pH of your food. It is, I'm not quite sure we have the technical support for that yet. And it's not just a nutritionist on staff. It's something else.
That is a tough one with lobbyists and big pharma kind of
I don't think
working
so.
maybe against food as medicine.
No, I don't think so. I think that's going to be driven by the insurance companies.
Mm.
I think the insurers want it as part of their benefits packages.
Okay.
Because it's risk management and it's quality.
That's correct.
And they're driven by quality scores like NPS scores, except their benefits in insurer scores. And they see more dollars by higher NPS scores. And what drives NPS scores? It's those benefits packages they call you about and saying, hey, do you know we also have a gym membership that you can get? And we have food that you can get. And we have these other things that you can get. And we have all these, your diabetes strips and your glucose monitor is also free in our programs. Those additional, they call those their support programs or benefit packages programs. That's all about quality and risk management.
So that's saving them money in the long term. I mean, I wish my insurance company would call me twice a week and tell me to go work out and eat a salad. I mean, that would.
And so some programs you can. And having having CPG realize that they're looking for you.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you need to have in your company to have your food be eligible to be in these programs? And what does that look like? And what does that start to look like?
Very cool. So the big question I wanted to ask, and you had mentioned it before the call, and just really want to wrap my head around this from a products expert. You have said that the entrepreneur needs to think of themselves as a product. What do you mean?
That at the beginning of your company's life, the thing that most often is being sold, in fact, is you. That you are the brand of the company, that what people and what investors often look for, this, they will take an A team and a B product, right?
Yeah, that's so right.
And many entrepreneurs don't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to have one of my own friends and mentors remind me all the time. They tell me, and I know people don't believe it, I am an introvert. And he says, you will never get away from it, Joi. You are the face of the Cook's Nook. No matter what you do, no matter how you try, no matter how many people you elevate, no matter how much of a website you stick out there, it will always be about you. And he saw me do this in the chair. No matter how many good ideas, it will always be about you. And I just have to say, okay, and it's true. People are going to invest in you or me, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my other fellow introverts, that's okay. For the extroverts, they're like, okay.
Like, I'm ready. Been born ready.
Sure.
So CPG founders, think of yourself as a product.
As your product.
As your product.
As the first product, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? What are your best features? What are the ones you have to work on? Right? You know, where do you need to make those investments? Where are, the cells that you have to work on that spreadsheet, right? Those same questions you have to ask, about you and the business, because you and the business are the same. No, I didn't say product, but you and the business are the same. And you have to sell you in that business. And that's where those processes and all those other things become really important. Have you done those things to make sure that they see that there is a healthy company around you, that you come as a healthy package? And it's something they can do business with. They can do business with you.
And that's not only going to help you attract the actual consumers, that's going to help you attract that rock star team that everyone
that team you need
wants.
And the investors you need. Exactly. Exactly.
Very interesting.
And we haven't even talked about the product yet.
Right.
The other product, the one you actually eat.
The other.
Yeah, the other product. Right.
Yeah. And we talk about that so much in marketing, how people buy your brand story and how important that is. And really believing in it is the first step, solving that pain point for yourself or for others.
Exactly. It is. And, feeling and always, what's so hard is feeling like you're always delivering on the brand promise, and delivering on it every day, as best you can, delivering on it every day, and having your team deliver on it every day too. We can always get so caught up in the weeds, and reminding your team about it too. Here's our brand promise, and how are we delivering and shaping and delivering on it every day? And God knows some days you feel like you didn't. Oh my God.
A lot of days.
Yeah, you're just like, oh. But you're sticking at it every day. Every day.
Well, Joi, it's been such a pleasure. This has been such a nice conversation. We're so excited that we got to meet you and learn from you. And I can't wait for our next conversation, hopefully in person.
I know. I think you guys actually had like real questions and stuff. I had to actually think and talk. And I can't believe you got me to talk about venture forth. I haven't talked about that in a while. Kevin's going to go, oh my God.
Uh-oh.
Hey, I'm going to tell you, that affected me enough where I had to put him on my little board of advisors.
Ooh, Kevin. Okay.
I know. I learned a lot in venture forth, and a lot of it was about myself.
Hey, that's good learning.
That is really cool. So yeah, thank you so much. And you've shared so much wisdom and just the marriage of tech and CPG. I just love it. So thank you, Joi. And if people are listening to this and they want to reach out or check you out, how can they find you?
Oh my gosh, you can find me. I am Cooks Nook Austin on Facebook and on Instagram. And I think on LinkedIn, but you can just find me as Joi Chevalier on LinkedIn. You'll find all my professional stuff there. But definitely Cooks Nook Austin. Oh, and on Twitter, Cooks Nook Austin on Facebook, Instagram,
on Twitter. Okay.
And on Twitter. Yeah. Sometimes we're on Twitter. Actually, everything from Instagram goes to Twitter too. So,
okay.
And so, yep. And then I think that's it. Oh, and then on the website, cooksnook.net. And then we have, workshops on different topics with folks in the community. I think there's one on Saturday with Brian Marshall of BCL, Business and Community Lenders of Texas. And he's talking about getting new channels and new partners. And you guys remember Ben Ponder and the guys in Barcode? Well, we're supposed to have a talk with Ben, though he's gone to Dallas, and they're running their co-packing facility up there. We convinced Ben to have a talk, and hopefully he will be on one of our talks in a few weeks. So it'll be good to talk to Ben again.
Awesome. So check out the events page at cooksnook.net.
Yeah, cooksnook.net, but we'll also post it elsewhere too.
Okay, great. Joi, thank you again. This was really great. It was great to meet you as well.
Thank you guys for having you
Thanks
guys
so much, Joi.
And thanks for all the stuff that y'all are doing.
we try to show up every day, just like you said.
I know, every day.
Yeah.
All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Joi. Good luck today with with everything, all the systems.
I know, right? Exactly. All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Ooh, My Social Circle is a CPG agency-driven podcast based out of Austin, Texas. We're excited to share more behind-the-scene insights, chats with industry leaders, and whatever else we learn along the way. Follow us on Instagram at Marketing, or check out our website, umaimarketing.com. Catch you back here soon.